why is it that some people were very gender nonconforming as kids, they experienced those same social pressures, but didn't develop gender dysphoria? There's no single definitive answer here, but from my clinical experience, I believe it has a lot to do with outer and inner forces. If someone grows up in a really strict religious community, for example, where loved ones say that it's wrong to have traits of the other sex, they may develop an internal conflict and a lot of shame, especially if they're also attracted to the same sex. On the other hand, a kid might have a very supportive family and only hear rigid gender messages from the outside world, maybe a stranger's comment or just something they read about online. In that case, they might just brush it off and move on. But still, that's not the whole picture. Some people grow up in very rigid environments and still end up accepting their gender nonconformity and sexual orientation. How? I think this points to individual personality traits, those inner forces. Now, before we get into it, let me explain what I mean by personality. I really like this definition from psychotherapist Jonathan Shedler. Personality is a person's characteristic pattern of thought, feeling, behavior, motivation, defense, interpersonal functioning, and ways of experiencing self and others. So let's take an example here. Jaden's personality makes her more prone to negative emotions and self-criticism. She's really sensitive to rejection. She likes girls and has several quote-unquote boy interests and overhears a homophobic joke. She internalizes it deeply. Jaden wonders, what does this mean about me? Would that person still accept me if they knew who I am? Now let's say William has a more emotionally steady personality. He also has same-sex attractions and is gender nonconforming. But William doesn't tend to ruminate. He hears the same joke as Jaden, rolls his eyes, and barely thinks about it again. Our personalities will influence how confident and self-assured we feel. They influence whether we get very anxious or doubt ourselves, and when we face uncertainty, are we just nervous or do we also have a sense of resilience?